Welcome to Haken, an Animal Crossing podcast. I'm your mayor, Chewy Plays Nintendo, joined by my co-mayor, Sergio. Today, we will discuss some of our favorite features that we want to see make it to Animal Crossing Switch, from Wild World, City Folk, and even other non-Animal Crossing games. And so to start, hello Sergio, welcome.
Hello, Chewy. How are you? Hello, everybody.
I'm doing well. I was just telling you before we started recording, I'm kind of tired today. Walked up and down a bunch of stairs, but that is not related to Animal Crossing. Anyways, I guess I want to get into it. Last week we did not talk about the video series I've been making, but it's essentially a series where I'm talking about 5 features from each Animal Crossing game that I want to see kind of, I guess, come back and in some form to Animal Crossing Switch, you know?
Yes.
Because I think there's a lot of really cool things that they can work with and use from the games that, already exist right now, right?
Right.
And there's some features that I think deserve to come back and deserve to, just find their way into our games again. So anyways, let's go ahead. We're going to catch up on those two. We're going to talk about my episode last week, which was City Folk, and the week before, which was Wild World. So let's go ahead and start with Wild World. Just to give a quick recap on my Wild World video, I said, for the 5 features that I want back, I wanted unique holidays, which are, Animal Crossing specific holidays. Things like Lottie Day, things like the flea market, for example,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Then I also said acorns. Acorns is kind of a special event just in Wild World. Like, it doesn't exist in any of the other games. But essentially, 1 week in October, acorns start falling from the trees, and you gotta collect them and go give them to Cornimer, which is like Mayor Tortimer, but with corn. And you give him your acorns, and he gives you prizes, this was how you got the mushroom furniture in this game.
Ooh.
And then from there, I also said red turnip seeds. There was another type of turnip in Animal Crossing, and that was the red turnip, which you could grow through a pack of red turnip seeds. But you only got 1 seed, so
Right.
They need to make it seeds. I want multiples. The next thing I said was moving. In this game, you can move to another Wild World town, or you can move your whole town to City Folk, which is pretty crazy.
Yes. Right.
I never did that just because, when you get a new Animal Crossing game, you don't want to play the Animal Crossing game you've been playing forever.
That's right.
You want to play the new thing. So when I got City Folk, I was just not interested. I was like, no, why do I want my Wild World file to keep going? I'm trying to get away from that now. I'm
Right.
a city guy now.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not out in the wild. I'm in the city. Come on. So anyways, I wish I tried that feature out, because now, I probably still could, but I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
And anyways, the last one I said was the recycling bin, which is kind of their new take on the dump, which was in the first game. I chose this one over the dump just because I like recycling better than throwing things away.
Right.
Yeah, and that's it, essentially. Somebody did comment on the video that they like the recycling bin a little bit better because it doesn't, take up space within your town. Like, it's
Right.
It's neatly tucked away in the town hall, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I thought that was a good comment. I was like, oh, I guess I always thought the dump was kind of cute, so I didn't mind it too much, but
Right.
it does make sense that people would prefer to have it kind of like a concealed thing, like not so, I guess, and I mean, if you don't like the look of it, it doesn't get in the way of your vision, right?
Right. Right. And like the person said, it doesn't take space in your main town area, and I agree with that. If you wanted it, it could be a public works project, and I'm sure there kind of is one already. I know there's like a fenced area, but it's not officially called a dump, I believe. I'm wondering if in New Leaf the recycling bin is sort of was replaced by the lost and found.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't believe it was so much replaced because the Lost and Found was still kind of a feature in those games, those first ones, because
Mm,
we had the police station in Animal Crossing population growing, right?
yes.
And so the police station, like, you would go there and they would have items that were lost and then you could find them. They didn't have to be your items, but
Right.
they
Right.
didn't question you or anything.
Right.
And in Wild World and City Folk, it was just located in a different spot. So if you went to your gates, your town gates at the northern portion of town,
Yes.
and you talk to, I think it's Booker there.
Right.
He's the more pug dog, right?
Yes.
Yeah, if you talk to Booker there, then you get access to the Lost and Found. Um, so I guess in terms of Lost and Found, you mean like if you build the police station again in.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess my thinking is like, I don't feel like that's the replacement for it. I think that's just like one thing that already existed, but in the other games where that existed, you had that and you had the recycling bin.
Oh, right. 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 No, then I definitely want to see it back. I mean, it was a neat little way to get extra items.
Yeah. And my thinking might be like it didn't make sense to people because I'm guessing the intention of the recycling bin was like throwing all those old boots and cans in there. Because, like if you don't have anywhere to put them, you have to take them to Tom Nook in those old games, and he would charge you essentially.
Yes,
Like you would
that's
get
right.
charged for them handling your garbage.
Right.
um, and then I guess in New Leaf, the similar replacement to that would be like a trash can that you can either build as a public works project or you could just get a trash can that goes inside of your house. And when you click on that, your menu actually opens up and you can put items in there. Um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, so that's like getting rid of the cost of getting rid of something.
Right.
Which is kind of funny because like it's funny that you're charged for that because it's not really like a significant price or anything. So I don't see the appeal or the need for people to want to use something else.
Yes.
So I don't know. I guess like if it were really expensive to get rid of your trash, I think that would change people's minds about it.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe make them lean more toward recycling things. So
Yes, that's right.
um, but anyways, that was my quick, not so quick recap of the features that I chose. In case you all forgot, I'll go through them all real quick again. Unique holidays, acorns, red turnip seeds, moving, and the recycling bin. So what did you think of that list when you saw it?
Good. I liked it, and it's definitely like some of the key features that stand out from Wild World. Back in the day. There are two more that I thought of that I would have replaced on the list. It's hard to say which ones I would have taken out. I guess in a way I would have taken out moving because for Animal Crossing Switch we're not really gonna be moving. Everyone it's looking forward to starting fresh. And maybe the unique holidays. No, I actually like that one. So I'm not sure, but the two features that I also remember or that stand out to me is online multiplayer for that was the first time that it was introduced for Animal Crossing. It was very momentous. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't as refined as online gaming is nowadays. But to us, playing Animal Crossing online, long distance with friends, it was amazing. And being able to also send little chat messages in game, that was great. And being able to say, oh, let's go fishing or let's go fossil digging, etc. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy when you think of the first Animal Crossing game and you just kind of remember that there was no, I guess, there was just no way to play that game with somebody at the same time. unless you both like brought your TV into the same room and you were playing together at the same time. But
Hmm.
it's still not the same thing because you're not in the same town, you know?
Yes.
Um, and then to go from that and, just start in Wild World and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm in the town with somebody else. It's the first time I felt like I realized, like, I am the only human in this town. there's
Yes.
there's nobody else. Like it's just me. And so I don't know. It felt pretty crazy at first. And yeah, I don't think there's like any question that multiplayer will be available on Switch. Like that's
Yes.
the whole part of it. Like it's got to have multiplayer. So I guess I never doubted that would be making a return.
Yes. Right. Right.
Um,
And for sure, it has to, especially because of the online application and service that we're gonna be paying for.
Yeah, I mean, clearly they need to charge people to play Animal Crossing some way. Um, and yeah, I guess I think at this point it doesn't make sense for Nintendo to not have online options for games. And personally, I think that's a really good thing. I think it's great that a lot of their games include the local multiplayer. I still want them to keep that, but there's some games that I'm like, I would have bought this if it had online play, like Kirby, for example.
Yes. Right.
Kirby Star Allies came out beginning of this year, and I didn't get it. I still haven't gotten it. I'm still not planning on getting it, but that would change dramatically if they were like, oh, you can play this online. Because then I would be like, cool, I'm getting it. I'm going to play online with my brother, and we're going to beat this game together,
Right.
essentially,
Right.
Because that's fun to me, right? I just need. Having online play just makes things so much easier. And yeah, I don't know. They are going to start charging for online, so it just doesn't make sense for Nintendo to skip out on it on games anymore?
Right.
Yeah, so you had other features from
Yes.
Wild World?
The other one that I remember from back then was the constellations with Celeste. If I remember correctly, they didn't do much. You would select one that you wanted to see during the night, and that was about it. But I always thought it was a neat little extra feature that it was just missing from New Leaf, and I never really understood why.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people really miss this. I'm kind of sad I left it off of my list now that you mention it. Because I know when I played Wild World and City Folk, I did not use this enough.
Yes.
I used it like when I did use it, I would make a ton of constellations at a time. And I think most of the reason I didn't use it too much was because I would make a constellation and I'd be like, oh, I don't see this till December. Well, it's
Right.
like March right now. Come on. I have to wait the whole year. And so, I mean, I don't know why I did this, but I'd be like, oh well, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Instead of just being like, oh, if I make a constellation somewhere else, maybe I'll see that one sooner.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know why. I don't know. I should have used it more, but I do really like that aspect. And while I was playing Wild World, I did notice like the top screen is the sky,
Yes.
and then the bottom screen was where the bulk of your gameplay took place. So your character lived on that bottom screen. You would move around the world on that screen, and all the while the top screen was just the sky, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Which is nice, but I do kind of prefer overall that they moved the, I guess, bottom screen up, and then the bottom screen in New Leaf was a map of your town. So
Hmm.
it's already available in that game. Like
Yes.
I guess it just maneuverability around your town. It was easier knowing that there was a map on the bottom screen right away.
Right. Right.
um, but yeah, I guess I do like that aspect of being able to look at the sky, because there are still things like shooting stars in New Leaf, and did they have shooting stars in Wild World? Do you remember?
Mm, I believe so.
Yeah, so essentially, like if you see, it's easier to see a shooting star
Yes,
if
right. It would
the
be
sky's
easier
up
there.
there.
Right. Hmm.
But having the sky at that top screen was for sure a great move with the constellations in mind. Like
Yes.
people would be able to enjoy the sight of the constellations. And now that I'm thinking about it, like everybody had different constellations in their games. If you visited them at night, you'd see like a different sky
Oh,
than yourself.
right.
So that was the first public works project now. um, at least I'm going to consider it the first public works project,
Right.
creating a constellation in the sky. So it made your town kind of unique in that way, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and once again, I don't know why there's always a helicopter flying over just when I'm recording. It's so weird because it's a different time every time we
Right. Yeah.
record. But for some reason, I don't hear it throughout the day. It's just now. Um, anyways, so I really like your answers for what you would add. I
Right.
think if I were to add those and remove some of mine, I'd probably also remove the moving, but I'd
Yes.
pick maybe the recycling bin because now that you're mentioning like the lost and found, which kind of does the same thing
Hmm.
as the recycling bin, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, okay. That's one way to get random cool items every day, you know?
Right. I think it would be better to have the constellations and just have them refined so they're a little more not to say more useful, but more like immediate reward type of thing.
Yeah, I want to place the stars in the sky and then
Yeah.
build my constellations because I think that's what also made it difficult for me. Like, I had to find the right cluster of stars to
Right.
make what I wanted to make. And then I found out that I wouldn't see it till December, and I'd be like, man, come on. I have to wait. Like, this is real time, Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Give
Right.
me a
Right.
break. Cut me a little break. Like, let me determine what month I'm seeing this part of the sky in.
Yes. Right.
It'd be nice if that were labeled, you know, because
Yeah.
the interface when you go and try to make a constellation, like it doesn't tell you what time of year you are
Yes.
making a constellation in, you know. So I guess I would like to see that added to the interface where it's like, oh, here is June. Or actually, what month are we in? August. That would make more sense for
Right.
me to say. I don't know why I didn't start there. Here's August, the month of August for this date. If you make your constellation here, you can see this right away.
Yes. Yes. Right.
So, yeah, that would be a good way to improve the
Right.
interface, I think. So I guess let's go ahead and move on into City Folk. And the City Folk, a quick recap. I'll try to do this faster than the last one. I know I get a little wordy. So the first one was Tom Nook point system. You got loyalty points at Tom Nook's and could trade them in for items. Layered towns was my second one, which
Yes.
was a cliff in your town or two
Two.
cliffs. I
Right.
think, yeah, you can have multiple. And then changing Nook's shop. If you upgraded all the way to Nookingtons, you could get a survey, and Nook would, essentially let you pick a different shop that he would show.
Hmm.
Um, and so you could revert back to older shops. The next one was a fountain, which I know they're still in New Leaf, but the fountain in City Folk worked differently. You'd throw an axe in there. Serena, the Chihuahua, would come out and yell at you, and then she'd maybe give you back your axe, or she'd give you a golden axe or a silver axe. So I
Yes.
thought that was cool. And then finally, one thing that all Nintendo games need but don't have, but this one did, voice chat.
Yes.
I can't believe we had a game with voice chat. That's amazing.
Right. Right. And from Nintendo.
Yeah, they've avoided that forever.
Right.
But somehow City Folk was the one exception to the rule.
Yes.
um, Actually, do you know if the We Speak, I guess, what would you call that? Peripheral?
Right.
Yeah. Do you know if that worked with other games outside of City Folk?
Yes. There was a first-person shooter game called The Conduit. I think at least that series had two games. I think it worked on at least one of them. So yeah, there's at least that one, and then it had its own little. They call it a channel, and you could just use it, I guess, like a telephone conference type of thing. But yeah, it was very limited. As far as I know, it's only those three games.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy that so few games have had voice chat through
Right,
Nintendo,
right.
like official things. Um, so before I ask you some questions about this list, I feel like I have to make an amendment
Mm.
to my list. I'm gonna go ahead and scratch Fountain out of that, out of these features. I love it, but we can, like I said, we can build a fountain now. It doesn't
Yes.
work the same. That's too bad. But I'm gonna scratch it off for this reason alone. There is one feature that I left out of this that I regret. I regret it immediately. Um, so Brewster, who was actually added in Wild World to the game,
Yes.
there's a little coffee shop added in that game, made a return in City Folk, and you would go and visit Brewster. And if you ever talk to Brewster while you are carrying a gyroid, Brewster would notice because he's a big fan of gyroids, and he would say, "Hey, I'm a big fan of gyroids. Can I take a look at what you got there in your pockets?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure." And then he offers to store that gyroid for you. He has a little space in, well, I guess I always imagine, I feel like there's a door in the coffee shop of City Folk,
Hmm.
like in the back of the coffee shop. And you can't really go through it, but I feel like that's where he has extra storage for gyroids.
Yes.
Um, but anyways, Brewster would hold on to your gyroids. So anytime you got a gyroid, you can go down to the coffee shop, give it to Brewster. He'd hold on to it, and it was just a good way to, or a good place to store just something that usually you wouldn't have the storage for, you know?
Yes, that's right.
Because I think the struggle in Animal Crossing games is always having enough storage to hoard effectively,
Hmm.
because Animal Crossing is a hoarding simulator, and you need to have the space to essentially have as many items as possible, you know?
Yes, and the game does a great job of wanting you to keep everything.
Yes, I have such a hard time getting rid of stuff in um, all the Animal Crossing games,
Yes.
and it hurts me. Like, I think all my gyroids right now in New Leaf, I have two exhibits in the upstairs of the museum
Yeah,
that are just
right.
gyroids. So anytime I find one of the gyroids that I'm missing, it's going straight in there. Um, Another exhibit I have is a full set of the miniature dinosaur models.
Ooh,
Um, I made them all, which took a long time, which it essentially means you have to get every single dinosaur bone twice.
right, right.
So I made models of everything, and I have an exhibit in my town of that. And then I forget what my other one
Is
is.
not the
Probably like,
Nintendo items?
no, I used to have one for Nintendo items. I eventually parted ways with
Right.
them. I actually sold
Oh,
them,
wow.
and I was like, I'm mostly what helped is that I did a lot of Street Pass back in the day. When Animal Crossing New Leaf came out, I was in college. I had plenty of people to Street Pass with every single day. And then at the same time, I would go to Comic Con in San Diego
Mm.
every summer. And so I had a lot of homes in my Street Pass, well, my Happy Home Showcase, you
Yes.
know? And half of them have all the Nintendo items. So
Right.
I'm just like, if I really want to see these again, I'll just go to my Happy Home Showcase, and that's where they'll be, you know?
Yes.
So at that point, I was like, okay, I have no need for these. I can get rid of them and put all my extra pave stuff here, which I think that is actually what's in
Oh,
there.
nice.
I don't know why. I think it was because I was trying to trade certain items because he was holding out on me. He would not give me one of the
Mm.
items. Like, I don't know why. He just skipped over it and wouldn't give it to me. And I was like, fine, I'm hoarding these and trading with whoever needs them for the one that I don't
Right.
have. Um, So that's why I have a bunch of pave furniture. um, yeah, so I don't know. I feel like I've talked over a lot about what that amendment should be. So yeah, I'm getting rid of fountains. I went on a huge tangent, but I want gyroid storage back.
Yes, I agree. I think that makes sense.
So I guess what did you think of this list of items?
I liked it, and if I had to add my own, I would agree with scratching the fountain, for the gyroids. After that, oh man, it gets complicated. I guess changing Nuke's shop, it's a neat little addition, but I think the other features are way more important and significant. So I would probably take out the ability to change the shop, and I would try to ensure that the game has motion controls. I know
Mm,
City Folk had them, and they were kind of simple. You would use them for. I know at least you could use them for fishing, just to throw your net and then and pull it back out. I don't know about the bug catching net. I think you could, but on the Switch, I think the controls could be more refined, and you would be able to use them in a nicer way, and also using HD Rumble. I'm already imagining using the slingshot, and getting great feedback from the Rumble. So the reason I would like to see that as a feature is because they don't have to add motion controls, since the game would work perfectly without them. But since there's the option, I really want to see them.
yeah, and I think the World of Goo game that is, a port to the Switch, I think
Yes.
that has like, some pointer controls to actually play. So
Yes.
we know it's possible to point at a screen with a Joy-Con and, it pops up on the
Yes.
screen, surprisingly. I don't know. I really don't know how they do it. Um, the one thing is, I think from people that I've seen kind of review that game, they've mentioned it's not as accurate
Mm.
as the Wii, which is the disappointing part.
Yes.
You and I, we play a lot of Splatoon. Played, I guess. You haven't been playing too much. I know I haven't been playing
Right.
too much lately. Been taking a little break from Splatoon. But I know, like, when you'd open up the map in Splatoon, you kind of have, like, gyro controls to point at the
Yes.
screen. I don't think they were too hard. They're too hard to get used to.
No.
So I feel like that could still work. And then that, it doesn't depend on you using a Joy-Con or anything. Like, that just already works on a Pro controller. It
Yes.
works with, like, all the controllers, well, the official Nintendo controllers that you already have access to,
Yes.
you
Right.
know? So I feel like that'll be a good way to kind of compensate for the lack of motion controls. But also, I think it was fun in City Folk when you'd throw your fishing rod with the motion controls. You could also reel it in
Yes.
with the motion controls. So keep it. I don't know.
Right.
Because it was still kind of optional in that game. Like, you could still press a
Yes.
button to do the same things, but it was also an option. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I don't think it's bad to have every style of control available to you.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, so I'm into
Right. Right.
it.
And one thing that I always appreciate in City Folk, and also in population growing, the fact that they were 60 frames per second. I know New Leaf, I believe it's 30, and Wild World, I don't know. I always felt like it was really, really low. That was kind of an issue that I had with the game. So I know for sure, for the Switch game, it has to be 60 frames per second. So it's not a feature that I would request per se. I'm just something that I'm expecting, and that I think it's going to be in it, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to look HD and have the best frame rates.
Yes.
Cause yeah, Wild World. When I was playing it, I was like, these controls just feel like you can tell there's a little bit of a delay on
Right.
it, just because the frames don't move as quickly. It's not as responsive.
Yes. Right.
But the Switch is amazing, so I think it's gonna definitely look much better, feel much better, and I'm excited. And I can even tell when I played New Leaf, I'm like, okay, so this isn't completely responsive because it's not that same frame rate
Yes.
that we've gotten in other games.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it's funny though, because you listed two games that have 60 frames per second, and they're both the console
Right.
specific games. So I feel like it's gonna happen in City Folk. It's gonna be so
Yes.
good because so many people love that handheld Animal Crossing experience, and so many people love that TV Animal Crossing experience. They're both gonna be on one thing.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's
And it's so
perfect.
seamless, right?
Just come out tomorrow, please. Yeah, so I like those things. Did you have any other things to add?
No, I think those are great. And as we go through the games in the 5 features here, 5 features there, if we do get all those like 20 features, let's say from the mainline games, that's already awesome. And then knowing Nintendo, they're already concocting a lot of things that we cannot even imagine. So it's gonna be an awesome game.
Yeah, I mean, I think about like all the great things that Animal Crossing has already done, and then I think of all the new things that they can do,
Yes.
and I'm like, that it's gonna be great. It's gonna be so good. Yeah, and then this week I'm talking about New Leaf. I kind of surprisingly, I think I had a hard time decide coming up with the five things I wanted from New Leaf, and I don't know if it was just because there were so many things that I wanted
Yes.
from New Leaf. I just wanted to make sure that I got the right ones,
Yes.
the
Right.
ones that I feel. Because these lists are pretty personal. Like they're my personal picks of things that I want to see,
Mhm.
and so looking at a huge list of features in New Leaf, I don't know. I just wanted them to be the ones that represented what I really loved about the
Yeah,
game.
that makes sense.
Um, so I'm hoping people like my choices. But there's so many things to pick from.
Definitely.
At this point, ever since missing out on that City Folk feature, I've pretty much determined I need to make an honorable mentions one
Yes.
after all of this and just talk about all the features that I did not get the chance to talk about.
Right.
Um, yeah, so anyways, those are the Animal Crossing specific features, and now we're going to go ahead and move into talking about features from other games that could inspire Animal Crossing or at least have, some great use in the Animal Crossing franchise.
Yes.
So to start, I do want to say like we've talked about Nintendo's development teams, and one thing that I've talked about at least in my research through the teams, is that a lot of Nintendo's developers jump around between games. So they'll work on one thing for however long they work on it, and then they get moved into something completely different?
Mhm.
And they do this, they do massive shifts with their development teams to try to get really fresh perspectives on whatever new franchise they're working on, right?
Yes.
So thinking off of that, you came up with the idea to, kind of talk about different games that we've been playing a lot lately and kind of some features from those games that would, improve Animal Crossing in some way, give us a new and great experience in the game.
Yes.
So I guess I'll start with mine, and I've talked about this game a lot on this podcast recently, but I'm still playing it. I'm still really liking it. I'm about done with what I want to accomplish in the game, but it's Stardew Valley,
Nice.
and so I've been playing this game a lot. I've grown to love it a lot. I'll be honest, it probably took me about, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but it took me like 20 hours to like feel like I really started to understand the game and how I wanted to play the
Mm.
game, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, now I'm pretty into it. I have over 100 hours on it
Oh,
now.
nice.
So I've made a lot of progress. And like I said, I'm pretty close to accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish in the game before I essentially put it down until multiplayer comes out to
Hmm.
Switch, you know?
Hmm.
So the features that I thought would be cool are when you start Stardew Valley, you don't have too much pocket space. I think you could carry about 10 items. And by about, I mean you could carry 10 items, and
Yes.
very quickly you find out how little that is. Because all the tools that you have in the game, like that already takes up 5 slots.
Oh, wow.
So half of your
Right.
inventory is gone right from the get go. So you can essentially carry 5 items, right?
Yes.
Now, there are ways you could buy a bigger backpack and then you can carry 20 items. And just like that, the whole world opens up. And then eventually, if you maxed out your backpack, you could carry up to 30 items. And so I hope you know where I'm getting with this, but please give us some way to upgrade how many items we can carry in the game. I think in games, is it 15 or 16 items that's the max to hold?
I'm thinking it's 16.
Yeah, so in New Leaf, you could carry about 16 items,
Hmm.
but you're carrying your shovel, you're carrying your axe, your fishing rod, your bug net, you're carrying all these things all the time to, just do things that you run into randomly, right?
Hmm.
I want to not stop at 16 items.
Yes.
I want to be able to go to Tom Nook's shop or whatever, buy a bigger backpack that lets me carry just so much more. And, maybe you have like your regular inventory space, like your pockets,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And then you buy a backpack on top of that.
Right.
And then it gives you like 30 more spaces to, just to carry things.
Yes.
And awesome. I would love that.
And then imagine if it actually shows the backpack on your character.
Yes, so cute. You would get, oh, they'd have to make a whole backpack store.
Yes.
Okay, okay, the person in charge of this backpack store is going to be a kangaroo because they have pouches.
Ooh.
Um, and I don't know what their name's going to be, but it's got to be a kangaroo.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
And they make awesome backpacks. And not only is a shop owner also like a species that can live in your town, they're going to open up the species that only exist as special characters to villagers, like
Hmm.
Tortimer the tortoise. Now there's tortoise villagers
Right.
that can live in your town.
Ooh.
So I'm just adding on to it because I think that's awesome. But yeah, that's something that I want to see in Animal Crossing. Another thing that Stardew Valley does is it has like special cutscenes with characters after you've grown relationships with them,
Mhm.
right? Um, we're already kind of getting the memories with villagers in Pocket Camp,
Yes.
and I feel like that's great. I think we need to grow that and put it into the main game and let you create memories with villagers in your game,
Right.
Because now not only like New Leaf added screenshots. Like we could take screenshots in our game for the first time, and since then the Switch has just built in that functionality with the console itself. Like you can take screenshots and then you can record videos of
Video. Yeah.
certain games. So, like, if you experience like a little 30-second memory with a villager, I want to be able to record that,
Yes.
and it's already built in. It's great. So, I don't know. I want to see cutscenes added, something that shows you that you are becoming really close with the villagers in your town.
Yes. You know, based on that approach, oh man, I wonder if the way they would structure it would be that those cutscenes are exactly 30 seconds long, and then the system itself would catch on to that and record it for you, so that you don't even have to worry about forgetting. When you get those cutscenes, it's gonna get recorded. If they can do that, that would
Yeah.
be awesome.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And I always think of I I was playing Happy Home Designer because there's going to be a Happy Home Designer video coming out tomorrow.
Hmm.
You heard it here first. It's kind of bad. I'm sorry. But I did my best, okay? Anyway, so Happy Home Designer, like I logged in and I was like, "Oh, like I have this option to turn off or and on the Spot Pass feature." Like the auto recording could just be a feature that you can turn off or on, you know?
Yes, right,
If you run into a cutscene and you have auto record on, like right when the cutscene ends, it's going to record.
right.
And there you go. Like you don't even have to think about it or, wait a second and hope that the cutscene's done. Also, the cutscenes are fully voice acted. Just kidding. They're not going to be. um, but yeah, I don't know. I want to see those cutscenes for sure.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I had from Stardew Valley is I just want a better interface to plan out my town in Animal Crossing because with Stardew Valley, this is kind of a side project. I should donate some money because I used it and I love it, but somebody went ahead and they made a whole grid, an official layout of what a Stardew Valley farm looks like.
Yes.
And then, it's all gridded out so you can put items exactly where they would be and plan out your farm exactly as you want it.
Hmm.
And they have all the different items, all the different crops that you can grow, and all sorts of things. And I just kind of, now that I've done that with Stardew Valley and I'm making it come to life, and you will all see this town, well, at least my Stardew Valley farm, pretty soon, because I've been trying to rapidly get it done so I can just get to the point where I can do a final tour of my Stardew Valley town and or farm. I keep calling it town. Um, I can do a final tour of my farm and show you like this is my layout. This is what I worked so hard to accomplish and complete.
Right.
um, but anyways, like I want some sort of interface where I can do the same thing with my Animal Crossing town. But the one thing I do recognize is that that's harder to do.
Hmm.
Um, like everybody in Stardew Valley, like if you start with the basic farm, that that's one layout. Like there's no variation in the layout of the
Hmm.
farm. The whole thing with Animal Crossing is like the parts of your town are randomly generated.
Yes, right.
Um, you don't really have control over what it looks like or what it feels or plays like.
Hmm.
um, but so that's the one thing that's hard. But I keep thinking back to an idea that I had a while back that we talked about here before, but I want, when you make a town, I want there to be a little miniature diorama version of it in Town Hall where you can plot out where you're building your public works projects.
Yes.
So that's how you can do it, Nintendo. Give me a way where I can easily see a nice grid of my town and plan things out from above without walking around and
Yes, right,
awkwardly
exactly.
talking to Isabel and saying, "Oh, is this spot good? Oh no, it's too close to this bridge. Can't build here." Yeah, that's all I
Yeah,
want.
right, right. No, yeah, I remember when you introduced that idea, and I loved it right from the get-go. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's all of my stuff. What did you have in terms of like other games that would be cool to implement features from?
Sure. And yes, I'm still playing a lot of Rocket League. That's that's kind of my go-to game. It's gonna be for a while still, I feel. And it's it's very very unlike Animal Crossing, but I did come up with a neat little way in which they could be related. In Rocket League, basically you play a lot of matches. It's a competitive game, and once in a while, once you win or lose a match, you unlock an item. And the cool part about it is that it shows you what the item is, so you can see it right then and there, and you can decide to equip it or not. I want that in Animal Crossing. For example, if somebody gives you a shirt, instead of just saying the name of the shirt, it would be cool if they show you, like, you see a little mini screen on the side and it shows you what the shirt or what the clothing item is, and it also gives you an option to wear it right then and there. That would also apply for any item, wallpaper, carpets, even furniture. Whenever you get an item, you see what it looks like so that you don't have to go back home and sort of install it there to see what it looks like. The game could show you right there. I think that would expedite things a lot.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds pretty nifty.
Right. And I don't imagine it would take too much to implement that, but yeah, I think it would be a nice little feature. I think it sounds a little bit like what if we had it, it would be so much better than the way I describe it. I think it would be a little addition that would mean a lot to a lot of players.
Yeah, and what I like about it is like I've been playing all of the games, just doing the series that I'm doing,
Yes.
and I'm noticing like which ones are more annoying to do certain things in.
Yes.
And one thing that I've been paying attention to is just like opening and closing your inventory. I think the one I've been happiest with so far, surprisingly, is City Folk. Like that one felt really fast and
Mm.
smooth to me. And so, yeah, I don't know. I like that idea just for like speeding up doing things
Yes.
in general.
Yes. Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Now, I've also gone back to a series that I've liked since it came out. It's called Danganronpa, and it's a point and click adventure game. It's not on the Nintendo systems, at least not yet. And it's also hard to think of features in a point and click adventure game that will relate to Animal Crossing. But I did come up with two, and I think they're kind of neat. The first one would be an overlay of your town, basically at the map of your town on the screen, but it's an overlay that is sort of transparent, so you can see through it, and you could bring it up at the press of a button, and whenever you want it, and you could still play the game technically, behind the map. It's sort of bringing
Hmm.
like an overlay of the town, but in you can still be playing the game. It's a quick way to see where you're going or to see where like Poncho's house is, or someone that you're looking for, without having to like completely pause the game and bring up a new screen with the map. It might be nice to have a little overlay. Like I said, it wouldn't stop you from continuing to play, and you could see where you're going or where you want to go, where the cliff is, etc.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be nifty, especially considering that, New Leaf, I talked about earlier, the top screen was your gameplay, the bottom screen was your map.
Hmm.
So your map was always visible at that time, at least when you play that game. And in the Switch, like, you don't have the benefit of two screens. Like, two screens was a pretty great idea for a lot of handheld games because,
Yes,
they're on tinier screens. There's not as much room to work with, but having double the amount of screens fixed a lot of those problems that, kind of handheld gaming had in the past. And, something you could ignore, essentially.
yes,
With this game, I remember thinking about this and playing Splatoon 1 on the Wii U. I was very scared of what the map feature would be like in Splatoon 2
yes,
going to one
right,
screen. And now I'm so used to it that I don't even notice,
right,
but I was initially worried because I was like the gamepad has my map and this is a pretty good use of the
yes,
gamepad. I think there were a lot of complaints I had with the gamepad on Wii U, but Splatoon 2 nailed it with that.
yes,
It worked really well. And so Spl- uh, well, I guess Splatoon 1 nailed it with the gamepad.
yes,
Sorry,
right,
I said Splatoon 2. Habits, because I play only
right,
Splatoon 2 now. But Splatoon 2, now you press a button and the map comes out, but you can still move around while it's
yes,
out.
right,
So, yeah, I totally see the benefit of having that. Also, another game, like, I didn't connect too much with the Wii and it was
Mhm.
mostly because the controller scheme. I don't know. It felt kind of forced, like the gamepad felt forced
Mhm.
in a lot of Wii U games. But the one game that I felt really worked well with the Wiimote nunchuck combo was actually Xenoblade Chronicles, the first
Oh.
one,
Mhm.
because you could still run around on the map while flipping through menus, and it was
Oh
very
wow.
convenient. It somehow worked miraculously on the Wii. And it was because of the nunchuck, you know?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just thinking there are really great ways to make a game convenient to play, and I'm hoping they can pull it off
Yes.
and do something cool with this like overlay map idea.
Yeah. Yeah. The more I think one of the modern terms of saying things like this is quality of life improvements in the games, and the more we can get, the better.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah, so I'll let you continue.
yeah, another one that I thought of from an adventure type of game. A lot of them have a text log of all the different conversations that have happened, and adventure games are they rival some books out there. So there's a lot of text, a lot of reading, and a lot of things that you might have missed or that you may want to go back to check what did this person say exactly. And you and I actually kind of ran into this recently when we sort of rediscovered a best friends feature in New Leaf. There's a way to send messages to either your best friends or to everyone in your best friends list. And you're able to see some of the most recent messages that were sent out during the multiplayer session. I want to see something like that, but even it's like a chat log that keeps track of everything that has been said. For example, let's say you schedule a meeting with Mitzi and she says, "Oh, come to my place at 6 p.m." And you keep playing the game, you're doing other things, and then you forget, "Oh, what time did she say again?" So if you're able to go back on the chat log and check out what she said, you can see the time there. And I think, for Animal Crossing, it doesn't have to be as long as in an adventure game. So I'm thinking maybe 15 to 20 messages could be stored. It wouldn't take too much memory from the game, but it would still offer us the ability to see what was said, just in case we need to go back and check something.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to be super helpful. I know we were playing with like the best friend feature,
Mhm.
like you said, and when you message people using that on New Leaf, like it just keeps record of what was said,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I find it so convenient because there's so many times where you're facing a loading screen in Animal Crossing. Whenever I go back to that game, I realize how many loading screens I see all the
Yes.
time. You walk into your house, loading screen. You walk out of your house, loading screen. You walk to another room in your house, loading screen. You walk to the northern portion of town, loading screen. There's just every single thing is a loading screen in the game. It's amazing. And so when you walk through something like that and somebody sends a message, you're gonna miss it.
Yes.
It's
Right.
gone.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's really a shame that there isn't a log currently for those things, except through this best friend
Right.
feature. I do want to make a note. The best friend feature, like now that we are best friends, and if we turn it on, we can message each other from our respective
Yes.
towns,
Yes. That's right.
and that's
Yeah.
awesome. That needs to exist all the
Yes.
time. I could be like, "Oh, hey, you're online. Can I go
Right.
visit?" Or do you want to come
That is
visit?
so
And
convenient. Yeah.
it's so convenient. Like it feels like we're best
Right.
friends, which is the point.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I agree completely. It would be way too awesome. Um, I can't believe we don't have it now, though.
Right.
It's really a shame.
Yeah. And lastly, I've also been still playing some Super Smash Brothers. Right now on the Wii U, still waiting for Ultimate on the Switch. But in the meantime, Smash Brothers is known for keeping track of a lot of information, and I want to see Animal Crossing take some of that approach. For example, I was thinking of checklists. I know we have one basically, which is the catalog from Tom Nook of everything that you've ordered, every item that you had. I want to see something like that, but for everything, absolutely everything in the game, and you can separate them by type. And if possible, you should be able to access them wherever you are. You don't have to be at the store to check them out, right? So, for example, it would be a checklist for the fish and bugs and the sea creatures that you have. We kind of have that already, but there could also be one for clothing items, one for wallpapers or carpets, uh, even one for gyroids. It could show you which ones you have, how many you have if you have multiple of them. And I understand that some of them are sort of spoilery if you see the name of some items that you don't have. So maybe those could be question marks until you unlock them. But I think, for example, for the gyroids, it would be fine to see the names so you can at least tell how many of them you're missing and how many of them to keep an eye out for. So just give a separate checklist for everything, and hopefully we can access them from a single menu. I think that would be nice.
Yeah, I want to say I totally do not mind if everything just shows up as question marks at
Hmm.
first. Because I mean, like, if you get a green counter and a green table and they're in two separate spots and you see all these question marks in between it, you're going to be pretty sure that it's a green themed piece of furniture that you're missing,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think that's a huge problem. It's like, I think back to Mario Party when you first start a Mario Party
Oh,
game and
yes.
it's a brand new save file and you're just scrolling through question marks. Like you have zero idea what mini game you're about to play.
Right.
I love that. And the names to the games in that are so clever
Yes.
and so fun. They're always plays on words. Yeah, so bring on the question marks. I want to see checklists all over the place. And another thing, you mentioned like all the little data that Smash Bros keeps track of.
Yes.
I've always been annoyed that you catch a fish, you catch a bug, you catch a sea creature, it gives you their size, and there is no way to see what your biggest catch was,
Right.
what your smallest catch was. Like, there's no way to see any stats on the sizes that you get. Like, what's the point of having a size or listing it at
Yes.
all if you can't even look
Right.
back?
Right.
At least show me what the biggest fish I caught was. At least show me what the smallest fish I caught was. Like, those
Mm.
two pieces of information, I don't know, like, why give us that information if it's not gonna matter?
Right. Right.
So, I agree, 100%.
Right. Right. And in a way, some of the people that comment about Smash Brothers keeps track of a lot of information that may not necessarily be too relevant. To each their own. It depends on how you play the game, how you approach it. But if we see something like that in Animal Crossing, I think it could be a lot of things to keep track of too. Some that are maybe not as significant as others, but for example, it would be nice to see how many other towns you have visited, how many people have visited your town, the total number of bells that you've spent in your lifetime, whether it's in your town or in others, the number of weeds that you have pulled, the number of times you fall in a pitfall. So a lot of things. I know we have some of these in the game already. Like when you sit in front of your town tree, you can see some stats and some dates. But it would be nice to see those in a menu and to have a lot of different numbers. And I mean, you don't have to look at them if it's too much or if you just think it's sort of insignificant. But it would be nice if the game keeps track and it's all there for whenever you want to look at it.
Yeah, and I want to point out, like, I think I figured out where these numbers can live, and that some of the things you listed, like, they're things that we should be able to keep track of. For example, you said the number of towns we've visited or the number of visitors we've had in our town.
Yes.
There are badges associated with these numbers.
Right.
Like, if you want a badge, you want to know that what's the visitor badge? Like, you have 50 visitors in
Yes,
your
I believe so.
town,
Mhm.
and is that the gold at that point?
Yes.
So that's like a number you want to keep track of, but currently there's no place for that to live. And I'm like, why not just put it at where that badge is? Like,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
it can let you know how many visitors you need, and then just turn it into a fraction. Say you've gotten 40 out of 50 visitors
Yes.
so far. You're that close to getting it, right?
Right.
And so the same thing with weeds, same thing with all of that. Like there's a place where this information can live, because it's not all pointless. Like it goes towards some sort of goal that you have. And I also want to be able to wear my badges on my shirts.
Oh,
So
yes.
that's a side note. I want, you know what, Phineas, hook me up with a Boy Scout, Girl Scout vest. Let me put my badges all over my
Right.
vest, and we'll be good. That
Right.
sounds great. But yeah, I think for sure this information is it's just like the game keeps track of it.
Yes.
And unless you're writing it down, there's no way for you to know like where you are in making this progress.
Hmm.
But there could be. And I want to wear it on my
Right,
shirts.
right. And like you said, the game knows, so just show the player.
Yeah, it's not too hard, right? Like I said, I've pointed it out that there's a menu where this could live,
Right.
and I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't put it
Right.
there.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I love it. I love these things. I love that other games can influence Animal Crossing in some way, because everything is like influenced in some way. And I don't know. I've been looking at a game called Ooblets for a while now, and it looks like a great game because it combines things from Pokemon, Animal Crossing, and Harvest Moon.
Oh.
And I'm like, those are all top tier games right there.
Yes.
Those are games that people love and adore, and Ooblets is going to be great because if it's combining all of the fun things that we can do from that, of course I want to try that out. So I don't know. I think things like, the Super Smash Bros. Team, say some of them work on Super Smash Bros. And then move on to work on Animal Crossing. And, they can bring a lot of those ideas over. And I think that's what Nintendo tends to try to do
Hmm.
with their
Yes,
development teams.
definitely.
They move people around and they let them work on something else to bring in a fresh perspective. And we've even heard this through their hiring process. They like to hire people who aren't really developers, who aren't people really who play games so much.
Yes, that's right.
They like to find people who have interesting ideas and new ways to look at the process of playing a game and making one. So I don't know. I think there are places you can draw from. There are all sorts of places to be inspired by, and yeah, it's just I I don't know. The weight's getting hard.
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm excited about all the ideas that we've already brought. Um, I I don't think I'll be upset if none of them make it in. I'll just be upset if they don't push this game like it should be pushed.
Yes, right. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and I think as soon my perspective on the wait for Animal Crossing changed dramatically as soon as I saw the Mario Kart 8 DLC, where we got the Animal Crossing stage added to Mario Kart.
Mhm.
So my perspective on the wait turned into, oh, okay, take as long as you need to make the game look this good. I don't care what steps you have to do, just make it look this good. It's amazing. So yeah, I guess I'm getting a little more impatient now, but I still want to be patient and be excited for them to show me something that is truly amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, anything else you wanted to say about this topic or any of the other things we've talked about?
No, just that I think it's great that we have pointed out the fact that Animal Crossing can be inspired by any game, any series, any genre. Like you said, let's just hope that the team that is working on it is as open-minded as can be, and they're gonna grab many features from many different places and make an awesome game. And just let's just hope that we find out about it very soon.
Yeah, and as long as they keep it Animal Crossing, it should be fun.
Yes.
It'll be great. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. If you want to be part of the conversation on all things Animal Crossing, join the Discord. I have a link in the description of this podcast. It's totally free to join. You don't have to be a patron, and if you do join, you can get Sergio and my friend codes. If you do want to become a patron, visit patreon.com/ChewiePlaysNintendo. For just $1, you can support our show and get tons of cool things, like you get early access to my weekly updates and my friend code on Switch. Sergio is also working on some cool art projects that I think you'd like too, and things like music and, just some graphic design stuff. So we're trying to make it really worth it for supporters, and I know I always say this every week, but I have to do a better job at that. Anyways, if you are watching on listening on YouTube, leave a comment about some features from your favorite games and what you would like to see kind of transfer into Animal Crossing Switch. And please leave a review for the show wherever you're listening. It helps the show gain some visibility and allows our community to grow. And once again, thank you all so much for listening, and we hope you have a great week.
Goodbye, everybody.